What's up, everybody? It's Scott from Mustsee. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be making a little video about the way that I glue tires. I know there's probably a million videos on YouTube of how to glue tires, I know that, but I had a day at home and I figured if I'm doing it, I might as well make a video out of it. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe you won't, maybe you'll have a better way of doing things, so please, if you do, make a comment. If you like the video, if it's helpful, hit the like button, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Got plenty of pretty cool RC stuff and lots more to come. So let's get into it.
Obviously, you're going to need your wheels and your tires. Today I'm going to be gluing up some Proline 1/8 buggy wheels to your J-Concept teaser tires, which is I believe a newer tread that they came out with. Very small pin tire, and these are soft compound, as indicated by the little color dot that they print on the tire itself. Now, all different manufacturers use, of course, different color codes for their tire compound, and it is important to know what you're getting because it really does make a huge difference in how the tire handles. It's not just the tread, it's also the compound. So we're almost ready to glue these tires up, but there are a few steps you should take to ensure that everything stays on the wheel. It's very annoying to be out running and to have a tire come off the rim mid-race. You see it at every race you go to. Some unlucky person just had bad luck or did a bad job at gluing their tires, and you see it slowly but surely start to rip off the rim, and when it gets real bad, the foam will actually rip in half and blow out of the tire. So that's something that will ruin your race. So there's a few quick steps you want to take before you just go ahead and dive in with the glue to ensure that everything holds on. Obviously, you need your wheels and tires. Make sure you get the right wheels for your car if it needs a special type of wheel with a special offset. You want to make sure that your whatever tire you're picking can be glued to the rim because there are different types of beads out there and rims that sometimes aren't compatible with each other. You're also going to need good quality super glue. I like this Gorilla Glue super glue just because it's never failed me, and it is a little expensive, but I'd prefer to spend a little extra money for the knowledge that my tire isn't going to blow off mid-race. It's worth the peace of mind. You're also going to need some kind of alcohol or kind of brake cleaner cleaning solution, and we're going to get into that in a second. But this is what I used. This is from the bicycle world. This is what we use to degrease chains and cassettes and drivetrain components. I like it. It's not as harsh as a real brake cleaner. That stuff can be really harsh, and it's just what I have lying around. Alcohol works fantastic as well. You're going to need some kind of rag, not paper towels. You want something that doesn't give off a lot of lint. Probably microfiber would be the best choice if you really wanted to geek out over this, but I just have an old t-shirt that I'm going to use. Another little piece of equipment that's really great to have is a hole punch. Actually pretty essential to doing this job right. So as a tire spins, it will kind of suck in air. It can suck in air as it spins around, and it's called ballooning. If you've never seen that happen, your tires basically fill with air, and then sometimes it can't get out and your tire will balloon and will definitely damage it. It's going to help rip it off the wheel, and it's for sure going to affect how it works and grips the ground. So you have to punch some holes in your tires, and we'll go over that in a second. Another thing, and really the last thing you're going to want, is if you can get your hands on them, some tire gluing bands. I've used big rubber bands that I got from work in the past. They work all right, you know, whatever you can, but this is the AKA type. These work on 10th scale or 8th scale, and these are going to kind of wrap around the tire and ensure a nice tight fit around the rim. It definitely helps. And it's not a necessity, but if you can get them, I would. They're not expensive. Now, if you don't have a hole punch, you can actually even drill the wheel too, and I've done that in the past. There's a debate, you know, what is the best way to vent your tires. Some people prefer to drill the rim.
and then some people prefer to punch a hole in the tire itself. And then where do you put the hole? Again, up for debate. Personally, I like to put it right on the outside edge of the inside of the tire, because that way you don't have a hole that's on the leading edge of the biting part of the tire. Sand and stuff and water will get in there, and it will help break down their tire, so it's a little bit of a trade-off to keep it from ballooning, but definitely a must do. You can see on these wheels there's these little divots, and I think that's where you would, if you wanted to, they kind of give you a little pilot hole to drill the tire if you can. If you were getting to a jam and you glue them up and you forget to actually put a hole in the tire or pre-drill the wheel, you can take a bit and go in from the side, and even just one hole on the inside of the rim is going to help the tire breathe. First things first, get your tires out of the bag, get your wheels out of the bag, and get them ready. First thing I do is punch the hole in the tire. You really have to use a hole punch if you're going to do the tire. And the reason is the round hole has a lot less chance of actually ripping open as you use it. You can't use a drill bit in the tire because the rubber's so sticky, it's going to actually twist up and rip the tire apart. And you can't use an X-Acto knife to cut a hole in it either, because that will put a long hole in there, and a long hole is going to want to continue to rip as you use it, ripping the tire in half. So if you're going to go the tire out, just go to your local hobby shop or Home Depot or whatever and pick up one of these little variable hole punches. I personally like to use the smallest punch, which is a number 2 on there. And it's really simple. Just get between the foam and the tire. You can take your foam out if you want. And I've already gone ahead and done these, but you're just going to go to your spot you want. You can go in the center of the tire if you want, but I like the inside edge of the tire, and you're just going to give it a couple hole punches there. You can see there, right there is where I did it. I use a smaller hole, so I like to do 4 around the outside edge of the inside of the tire. These are already done, so we can move on to the next step. All right, so after you've gotten your holes punched in your wheel or your tire, the next thing I like to do, and this is an easy step to skip again, but pretty important if you want to do a really good job, and that's where this stuff comes in. So, basically, the glue is only as good as the surface you bond it to. Good glue bonds to stuff better, but for me, I don't like to take any chances. So when these tires come out of the mold from the factory, the molds are coated in kind of like a powder to help them separate from the mold so they don't stick. But that powder kind of stays on the tire, and that can affect how well it adheres to the rim. So what you want to do is clean both the rim and the bead of the tire with alcohol or this Clean Streak stuff I have here. And I'm going to do that just real quick to show you. Just a quick spray. And try not to touch the foam too much. This stuff can kind of degrade it. And you're just going to go around the inside edge of the bead like that. And even though I've already done this tire, I've done all of them actually, you could see that it's still lifting off a little bit of rubber there. If we look further on the shirt, you can see, where did I put it, that much stuff came off of just 4 tires I did. Right there, all that brown. That came off of one brand new set of tires. So all that stuff is now not going to affect how the glue works. The wheels you're going to wipe down too. You want to wipe down the bead of the rim because that's where the glue is going to be. You can see these are nice Proline wheels, so they have a little bit of a bumpiness to them, and that's to help the glue grip the rim better. It's more surface area, which is better. It's going to work better. These are typically pretty clean, but you never know who's handled them. Maybe you handle them, the person that put them in the package, so it's not a bad idea to also just wipe down the outside edge. If you really wanted to be a freak about it, you could wear like latex gloves while you do this, but that's pretty much overkill. It's an RC car. Nobody's going to die if these come off, so not that big of a deal. Last but not least, you kind of want to make sure you're working in a clean area. Wash your hands first. Take any excess oil you have off your fingers. Don't do it in any dirt or sandy conditions if you can. Sometimes you have to do it outside, whatever. If you have the opportunity to minimize any risk, you can do it, so have a nice clean surface. My work area is a pretty big disaster at the moment, but it's going to be clean enough for what we're doing here. I also know that some people will actually glue the foams to the rims, inside of the rim. Particularly, I believe that is done for higher grip tracks. Adds a little bit of stability to the tire, and just gives it that little extra edge of grip, so that the foam can't kind of rotate in there as you use it or bunch up. But as far as I know, that actually will wear out the foam quicker because it's not able to move and flex as much, and they'll kind of probably wear out a little bit quicker. I've never done it because I haven't been doing this as long as other people, and I know some people do it in 10th scale for sure, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm pretty happy with how things have been going without doing it, so we'll skip that for now, but it's something to look into. Alright, so we're pretty much ready to go here. It's also important to remember, if you have directional tires, that you glue them on your rim the right way. I know I've done it the wrong way, and you feel like an idiot because this stuff is not cheap, and you definitely don't want to have be that idiot at the track who has his tires glued on backwards. Not that it won't work, it's just that it was designed to run a certain way, and you want to run it that way. I'm noticing, I've never run these tires before, but I'm noticing on them that on one side of the carcass here, some of the bars are connected. Let me see if I get the camera to focus for us. You kind of see it right there. So there's some connector bars between the lugs, and they're not on this side. So I'm pretty sure that those are meant to be on the outside of the rim. I should just look it up and check, but I think I'm just going to glue it that way. And if you do glue it that way, you want to make sure that you do it the same way on all the wheels. Alright, so I like to pre-fit the tires to the rims. Sorry about the lighting here, guys. I don't have a great studio to shoot in. This is the best I can do with what I have. But basically, I just kind of pre-fit the tires. Try not to use your thumbs and gum them up too much, because you don't want to put more oil back onto the beads, but you're basically just going to get everything set up the way it should be. Like to just make sure the bead is flush. You obviously don't want to glue it with a lip like that. You kind of have to push the foam around a little bit and get them to where they look glued, but they're not. And then I kind of squeeze it around, get the foam to kind of settle in. Check both sides, make sure everything's tucked in nice. And that's basically what it should look like when we're done. And just continue that on the next three. Alright, so they're all mounted up and ready to go. Just going to place them aside. Anytime I do a how-to video for YouTube, it's always a little nerve-wracking because, I've been doing this for about 3 years racing, and this is the way that works for me. There's always going to be the comments, oh, you did it wrong, you made a huge mistake, you're using the wrong stuff. And maybe I am, but I don't think so, because I've never ever had a tire come unglued on me that I personally have glued. So whatever I'm doing is working, and I'm going to continue to do that, and I just figured I'd share it with you guys. So do it however you like to do it. If there's a better way, leave it in the comments section. I'm happy to learn new stuff, and if you have a better way of doing it, please share it. If you hate what I'm doing, go ahead and share that too. That's fine with me, as long as you're kind of engaged in what I'm doing here. Now, I know there are also tire gluing jigs that you can buy, which is basically a little machine. You put the wheel on, and it kind of spreads the tire out, and you can put the glue around nice and evenly without the rubber getting in the way of the nozzle as you go. Speed is definitely important with this. because if you wait too long while you're applying the glue, the nozzle will get stuck to the rim or the tire, and it starts to get ugly. And you really don't want that. So you want to try to do it in kind of a, almost like a machine welding. You're going to want to stick it in there and just pump out enough glue to fill up where it needs to be. There's going to be some excess no matter what. I've yet to do 4 perfect tires, but as long as you keep it clean and you don't waste glue and you also don't underglue the tire, you should be good to go. So I'll shut up for now and we'll jump right in. You really just want to lay down a nice little bead and move as you go, keeping the kind of same pace all the way around. And you got to make sure that you don't put too much on, or that the bead of the tire doesn't come off the lip. Kind of overdid it right there. It's all right. Spread it out a little bit. Finish like that. All right. So overdid it pretty good. If you do overdo it, you can kind of take a rag and wipe away the excess. It does leave a mess. Just be careful not to get the rag stuck to the glue. Alright, so this is where your tire bands will come in. Very important that you don't let glue get on the tire band either, because if you put the get glue on the band and then wrap it around the tire, it's going to stick to the tire and it can really damage the carcass of the tire. So do your best to just kind of gap it out. Get to the edge of the tire here as close as you can, and that's it. And you just want to let that sit for a while. You can kind of work the glue around it a little bit, and it's ready to set up, and we're going to leave that alone for a while. I do one side at a time of each tire. I take my time with this, and I don't do both sides because bad things can happen, but we'll go over that later. I'll continue the next 4, and we'll talk after that. Alright, so there we go. 4 tires glued up. If you have more sets to do and more bands, then I would suggest you move on to the next set. But you got to let those sit for a while. You definitely don't want to rush it, just like a paint job. If you rush it, you're going to wreck it. And if you end up flipping it over and trying to do the other side, then it'll stick to the table. Also, super glue kind of effervesces as it dries, right? It kind of gives off a really nasty toxic fume. And even that can, if it feels dry, can still kind of stick to the table. And I've seen more than one person actually have their tires stuck to the table and have to rip them off, and basically you kind of wreck the edge of your tire there. So don't do that. Better to take your time and let them sit. We're going to let those dry, and then we'll go on to the other side. Alright, so there we have it. I had glued both the other sides of the tires. They sat for a while, and I've removed the tire bands here, and I have my 2 sets of tires all glued up and ready to go. Not a bad idea to just inspect them, make sure that there's no gaps in the glue, because you want to make sure that it got bonded all the way around the rim. I definitely did not do a perfect job on these tires. There's a little lip on some areas. It's very difficult to do it perfectly, and I'm sure that comes with experience, but good enough. So really the last step in your tire prep here would be to just mark them. I know not everybody does this, but if you're racing, this really makes a lot of sense to do. And the way you do that is basically you just get a little paint pen and you're going to write on the inside of the rim whatever info you need to keep it straight. So, typically I think it's a great idea to write the date that you glued them so that you have some idea of when they're from. And also, if you get multiple sets of one tire, it keeps them all together so that these 4 tires are from the same time and you don't mix them up. The other thing that's a good idea to do, obviously, is to write on there LR for left rear or FR for front right. Basically you want to indicate which part of the car they go on. And even though this tire does have a mark on it to tell you what compound the tire is, it doesn't really hurt to also write something on there to indicate, because these little paint specks go away with use, and the tire isn't marked in any other way to let you know what the compound is. So you might write S for soft or SS for super soft, something like that. And, that way you can keep it straight. So, that's basically it. I can just write it on there. I like to use a paint pen just because that marker is a little more permanent. You're going to be washing the tires usually, so you want something that's not going to wash off of there. Alright guys, so that about wraps up my old tire gluing video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button or leave a comment for us. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to get in on some more of my RC videos. And if you think I did something wrong or you have a better way of doing something, please share it below. I'm always interested in seeing what other people think and doing it better in the future. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more great stuff from RC Mustsee. See you.